We're going to watch this swing in slow motion. What we're going to see is two classic flaws of the amateur golfer: an overswing on the backswing and a scooping or hitting the ball with the right hand under the club at the impact position. So let's go at slow motion, and I'll stop it right. There's your classic overswing. The left arm is bent, left knee is collapsed below the level of the right knee. Club shaft is well beyond parallel. He's rotated his hips almost as much as his shoulder. There's no coil. Now we're going to continue in slow motion into the impact position. You can see right there the right hand is under the club. He's scooping the ball off the ground. There's not a lot of forward momentum of the right hip as he goes through. Nice finish though. So physically he's able to get to the positions we want him to get to. So we need him to shorten that backswing, keep those knees a little bit more level through the turn, the takeaway, and then hit the ball with the right hand on top of the club instead of under the club. So you can see he's making impact with the hands well behind the ball. The hands should be well forward, almost to his lead thigh. Okay, let's watch this golfer in slow motion. Swing plane is up to the shoulders. Stands fairly tall and erect. A little fidgety. That's a nice waggle. That's not a bad thing right there. Probably too much time over the ball, as we can see here. Turning the club back and through. All right. Now, even though on the way back, you can see that his club was considerably below his swing plane, through most of the backswings, at least staying outside of his hands until about here. So that's not too bad. What is nice, though, is he's able to route the club right back on the same line back to the golf ball. He's playing a single plane swing. What we'd like him to do is try to keep the club a little more outside the hands on the way back. But watch the finish here, rotates through. At this point now, I'd like to see a little bit more rotation of the right knee towards the left knee and the left leg a little straighter. He's a little collapsed with the left leg. He hasn't posted up on it, but a pretty decent finish. We see a nice neutral setup here. The hands are body centered. Head's just barely behind the ball. It's a pretty good setup. Let's watch the swing in slow motion. A little bit of a sway on the takeaway. Nice smooth rhythm. Nice finish. Let's take a look at just after impact position. There's the telltale. The left arm, his trail arm, is not able to extend down the target line. It's pulled pretty close to his body. He hasn't rotated his hips. He's rotated his shoulders. His hips are still square. The hips should be rotated. The shoulders should be square. And I should be able to see the fingers of the right hand under the club. All I can see is the left hand and forearm. So we need to get him a little bit more rotation so that he's got a little more energy. See where the hands are here? Picture those hands in exactly the same position, just rotated to the other side of the body, the forward side, where the hands are down. Try that. I went ahead and drew the swing plane in from the ball up through the shoulder line. We'd like to see the club head stay on or slightly above the red line on the way back, and then under the red line on the way forward. Let's go part way back. At the point where the hands are about waist high on the way back, the club should be parallel to the ground with the shaft of the club pointing straight down the target line. So you can see right now the hands are a little inside. They didn't come straight back. So they went way inside. We'd like to see the hands coming straight back along the line so the club isn't so far behind him. At this point now, the club head should be on the red line. So he's taking the club way too far back, getting stuck right about here. And chances are he's going to have a slightly over-the-top swing. There it is. See how over the top the club is? Now it's coming outside the red line and cutting across it. You can see that right there, getting stuck and making it so he can't rotate through the shot. So we want him to take his club head a little bit more on the outside on the takeaway. This is a classic arms and shoulder swing. And it's not necessarily a bad thing if you can hit the ball pretty solid. Let's watch it in slow motion. She swings back right on the yellow line, Stays on the yellow line, right back the yellow line, right on plane, and a pretty nice swing. That swing works really well. You're not going to get a lot of power, but you're going to be down the middle. You can score from there, and you're not going to lose a lot of golf balls. It's a pretty good swing. She allowed her body to rotate with the swing, so she won't hurt herself, and I like it. Obviously, we could try to get a little more energy into the swing, but all in all, this was a pretty good swing. Nice fall finish. Look at her at the impact position. Go back up to the impact position. See that? Almost parallel exactly to where she was, right through the shot. Very nicely done. Face-on view of this golfer, we see a very strong grip. Notice how the right hand is pretty far under the club. That means that he really has to concentrate on rotating that hand over through impact. But let's go ahead and just move the club through the swing now. Nice takeaway, smooth, good width. And he's coming into the shot. You can see it right about in here is where he starts to hit at the ball. And you can see the shaft bending forward because instead of continuing to rotate through, he hits it with the right hand. When his timing's on, he hits it really well. And he rotates through, and the right hand kind of stays under the golf club. You can see that, that his back of his right hand is to the ground a little too much. Very strong swing, pretty good finish. His probably going to be better in the long run if he can make that right hand grip a little weaker. The red line represents the swing plane for this golfer, a relatively short iron. On the way back, the head of the club should pass above or on the red line. And I think what you'll notice is it comes pretty steeply to the inside. Now he's in a stuck position. He can't swing his arms freely from there at all. So what's going to happen is he goes to the top. He's going to come over the top of his original swing line, way to the outside, come down on the ball and probably slice it. You'll also notice that he's not getting any hip rotation through this way. We'll see this. It's all late. At this point right now, we should be able to see all of the spikes of this foot. So we got to get this golfer to take his club a little more to the outside on the way back and then inside on the way down. Here we have another arm swinger. Isn't able to keep the club outside the hand, so at the bottom of the swing, he's pulled up, the arms are fully extended at the ball, like all of the energy wants to go at the ball rather than driving the energy towards the target line. So here we go in slow motion. Nice takeaway, over the top move, and then on through to the finish. So it looks pretty good until we see two things. The move at the top, which is going to be seat forward, just a little bit. And then at the bottom, he pulls up. See that? You see the pulling up? No rotation of the hips through, slips the hands under the club. This is a golfer that's pretty new at the game. She's starting out with a little too much knee flex, kind of a sitting down position, weights back on the heels. It's going to be hard for her to just easily swing her arms, and that's what we're going to see in the swing. She kind of lifts up and then kind of tries to drive the club back down to the ground, and her head is just moving a lot. We want to get her to stand a little taller and to feel like she can swing a little more freely with her arms and hands, so we don't have this motion right there, smacking down on the ball. Okay, the club's got to come from this angle to the ball. Okay, let's go take a look at this golfer in slow motion. Watch the takeaway here. Pretty smooth. Nice wrist hinge. But what we see is right about here, the elbows start to separate, and we end up with a lack of supination. At this point, where the hands are, the club should still be on this line. The club should still be lagging behind the shot, and the left hand should be under the forearm of the right arm. So we should see a little bit more rotation of the arms through impact. That'll keep him from chicken winging that right elbow and left elbow and damaging the left shoulder. Watching the swing in slow motion, we're going to see a couple of errors. One is he takes the club too far to the inside, and the second is he doesn't get the elbow down, the right elbow down. And you're going to see as we watch the swing, how the takeaway is going to come too steeply to the inside. Then the right elbow is going to go up, 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 up behind him. And now he's in a push mode where he's going to push the club forward instead of pull the club down. There's really no leverage there to pull the club down. If he was pulling down on a rope, for instance, that right elbow would be straight down. And that's what we're looking for. Get the elbow down so he could turn through the shot better. Let's see what happens in slow motion. Nice takeaway. A little lifting there. Drops it back down. The problem happens in the takeaway right there, where everything lifts up. Her arm should be more parallel to her shoulders, and her shoulders should be bent down a little bit more. The right arm's in a nice high position, but the shoulders aren't helping with that. So we need to get her to stay low, and then as she drops down into the shot, she really does a nice job of dropping the hands into the shot, but it's really hard to come in from that steep of an angle and hit a good shot. What we're going to see with this golfer is that she starts out a little jammed up. Her hands are really close to her body. Her weight's back on her heels a little bit. And then as she starts the takeaway, she'll even collapse more with the arms. See how the elbows are bending? They're pulling in across the body. Now she does a nice wrist hinge right there where she's trying to get the club leg. And she starts down, not bad, but again, she's too bound up. Both elbows are bent separately. We want to create a straight triangle in our setup, not have those hands quite so bound up against our body. This is another golfer that's using a primarily arm-generated swing, but she turns nicely with the swing. She lets her arms tell her body what to do rather than her body telling her arms what to do. So we'll watch in slow motion. Pretty nice takeaway, too much lift right there. Then she goes back right to her setup position, though. Pretty nicely turns through the shot. We'd like to get her up on her right toe a little bit more and a little more balance in the swing, but she's making good use out of what she's got. She's doing a good job. All right, let's go ahead and watch this swing in slow motion. Back it up. What we're going to see is a pretty good swing, but he fails to extend the arms on the takeaway. They get too short, so he ends up with kind of a little compact slap at it swing in here. So right there, he gets bound up. At this point now, that left arm should be nice and straight, pushed away from his ear, so that as he moves to the ball, he can get better arm extension and fire that arm through. What I like here is the great right hand extension and the fact that the left elbow is down. Very good job. Let's watch this swing in slow motion. And I just want you to pay attention. This is a pretty good-sized guy, and he's going to have the grace and motion of a much smaller man. It's a very nice swing. Let's watch it in slow motion. Nice, smooth takeaway. Look at the weight shift now. Through and around. Great extension of the arms right in here. Look at that. Great extension of the arms. The body's moved forward. Nice high finish to a nice relaxed finish. Good swing. I went ahead and drew the swing plane in again. Pretty good setup here. Nice straight back. Arms are hanging pretty freely. Let's go ahead and watch the swing in slow motion. Staying on the red line very nicely and under the red line. That was a pretty good swing. What we'd like to see is right about here, a little more relaxing of the club head, so the club head will release and drop down behind his neck. See, he got right up here and kind of stopped swinging. See that? So a little tension there. But other than that, a really good swing. In slow motion down the line, we're going to see that the elbows come apart during the backswing. I'll start it here in slow motion. See how far apart the elbows have gotten? We'd like the right elbow to stay as close to the left elbow as it is at setup. We're going to continue on through. Now it's really wide, comes through, and you can tell now that the elbows are pointing in different direction. At this point now, the left elbow should be pointing to the ground, so he's rotated and supinated the hands. Okay?